Today I want to talk about working with scan data for something like 3D printing. And sometimes, let's say you have scan data like this, and you receive it and you can see that this is 20 million polygons. Okay, and if I look at the geometry, I mean, just the geometry is a mess. I mean, that's usually, true of obviously scan data. And so we can't like subdivide this lower. We might think, well, maybe I could do like a ZBrush or something like that. Maybe I could, but I definitely don't want to lose detail. So I feel like the fastest way, what I like to do for 3D prints is use something called decimation. And I'm going to go ahead and show how to do that. So I'm going to open up this divider here. I'm going to go to Z plugin, drag this over. I'm going to go to decimate. Okay, Decimation Master. Now, before you do anything, you're going to have to hit pre-process current. Okay, now if you had a bunch of different subtools, which I don't, you could go to pre-process all. I'm just going to hit pre-process current. And what that's going to do, it's going to analyze the mesh. It's scanning it and just kind of understanding it. And then once it's analyzed, then I'll be able to do this process here. I'll go ahead and pause the video because this could take a long time, especially with a 20 million poly mesh. So I'll pause the video and then I'll tell you how long that took. So that took 4 minutes and 11 seconds to be exact. And once again, it can change based on your computer specs, but just to kind of give you an idea of how long something like that takes. Now, if I look at this, nothing has changed. Okay, I can see that it's still 20 million polys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually duplicate this. That way we can kind of compare it to the other one. So I'm just going to move this one over. So I have now two of them. But this one here, this one is the one that it did. I'm going to have it decimate this one. So I can see here decimation quality is 20%. It's shooting to be around 200,000 polys, and I'm just going to say decimate current. Okay, now what it's going to do, it's going to decimate this one, and the goal, I can see here, it's thinking. And if you didn't do the pre-process, it would probably say something like, hey, warning, you need to process it so we can understand it. I can see that this only took 11 seconds. And if I look at the quality here, it looks like it's pretty much identical. Okay, so we wouldn't know the difference. But if I look at the geometry, okay, I can see that this one is only 7 million, where this one was 20 million. Okay, so I can see that the polygons are significantly larger than what we had before, where that was much denser. But let's say that's still too big a file to send to the printer. And what I mean by too big a file is the physical file size when I save this. If I saved it as like an STL or an OBJ, let's say I had a 50 megabit max on my printer and it was still too big. So what I can do is I can say, you know what, I'm going to try to decimate it again. So I'm going to say, let's shoot for, let's shoot for 100,000. Let's say I'm going to try decimate current. Okay, great. So there, now I'm actually down to 100,000 polys. Okay, because that was my goal. I can see I'm 3 polygons short. And if I uncheck that, it should look pretty much identical to the other one. Okay, that's obviously the goal of having it look identical. Now I can see that there is kind of more significant faceting compared to what this one was. So if that was not acceptable, maybe I'll undo it and I'll say, you know what, let's shoot for 2 or maybe even 500,000. Okay, and now I'm going to say decimate current. And now I can see that the skin, the faceting is not that bad. But once again, this is only at 500,000. It's 5 short of 500,000, where this one is at 20 million polys. Now, this type of edge flow would not be conducive to rigging or animation or UV mapping or anything like that. But for 3D printing, this is really good. Okay, so if I exported this out, let's just kind of see the file size. So I could also do this. If I was 3D printing, I go to my 3D print hub and I could say export to STL. So if I did that, I'm going to say, I'm going to go here. I'm going to call this Decimation Scan. Okay, and I'm just going to do, okay, so I'm going to say choice 1, let's see. Okay, and then let's take this one. Okay, so I think there we go. And now if I take this one, and I'm going to say export STL. Okay, scan 1. Okay, scan and scan 1. So it looks like it did export both of them. So let's take a look here. Here's scan. And if I do the properties, I can see that this one is 23 megabits. And if I click on the other one and go to properties, I can see that the one that I didn't decimate is 1.78 gigs. You know, I'm no fortune teller, but I feel like I probably would think that your printer would not be happy with that. Okay, and this is significantly less. Okay, to give you an idea, there's 1,000 megabytes in 1 gig. So this is really 1,780 megabits, and this is 23 megabits. So once again, this one's significantly smaller, the one that we decimated. And if I look at this, I can see that visually, there's no way you could tell. So that's the Decimation Master. And hopefully that can help you with all your 3D printing needs. Make sure to like and subscribe. New videos every week to learn how to do all your 3D needs.